Here I am with Paz and Grace Mugabe. We're going to be talking about budgets today because I've noticed a lot of talk about budgeting lately. Generally, it's been personal budgeting to get people out of debt, but in business, we really need to put the horse before the cart and budget before we get into deep financial water. Grace Mugabe, who runs the Facebook page Financially Empowered Women, joins me in the studio along with Paz to talk about business budgets. We're going to make it less scary and a lot easier for you. Yeah, welcome, Grace.
Thank you for having me.
A pleasure. And welcome, Kat.
Hi.
So budgets, I'm pretty daunted by them, but maybe it's just because they've got some bad press. Let's start with why we need to do them and when.
So budgeting generally tends to happen at the beginning of the financial year. It sort of sets you up for financial success. It helps you and gives you a guide to what you need to do within your business. So it gives you targets for your sales and also so you can keep track of your expenses. So it's not meant to stop you from, spending money, but it's just to give you a guide so you can keep track of where your money is going.
Okay. So it's not supposed to be scary.
No. It's meant to be exactly that, empowering.
Yeah.
Empowering. Okay, that's a great way to look at it. Empowering, actually.
Yeah.
Empowering. It gives you targets to meet, especially with sales, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're not going to know whether or not you're making a profit or going to make a profit and be able to meet all your expenses unless you forecast and plan in advance.
So, okay, let's budget. I don't have a budget. I'm a small business and I've got a blank page. Where do I start?
Good question.
Is there a cheat sheet or is there where do you start?
Well, one of the things, tools that I've actually created is an hourly rate calculator, because I think one of the challenges that small businesses have, particularly service providers, is knowing what to charge their clients. So in this hourly rate calculator, you're able to work out what your personal expenses are and then what your business expenses are. It also takes into account the frequency at which you pay these bills, because you might, have expenses like insurance that you pay annually. And then you'll have expenses that you'll pay on a monthly or weekly basis. So you list all those expenses personally and then for your business so that you can see in total what your expenses are going to be. And then that will also then help you in terms of being able to work out what your rate is, and you need to know then how many clients you'll have or need to have to be able to meet those expenses.
Jane's nodding. Love it.
Oh, yeah. Going, okay. So that way you're not just kind of fumbling around in the dark going, I need more clients, when actually you don't. And I guess this gives you, like you were mentioning, the frequency of bills, etc. So it's really useful for cash flow.
Exactly. That's correct. Because one of the biggest challenges that small businesses have is the cash flow and knowing, whether or not they're going to be able to afford things, the timing of when expenses are, and also the terms that you give your clients. So, sometimes people give, business owners will give their clients 30 days to pay. But if you have a subcontractor that wants their pay in 7 days, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
I understand. Cash flow. So if we call it like cash flow, it sounds more sexy than budget.
Yeah. I think the best way I've thought about it in the past is I always say to people, your spending must run at the same rate as your earning. So, there's a beautiful woman, Rhonda something, I'll find the book, and she talks about spending penny and earning earnest. And penny loves to run quicker than earnest. But then if you're ahead, you're pretty much using future money to pay for past expenses, and that's how people get into trouble. Yeah. They hold off paying old bills. I think, would you say that, Grace? Like, that's a huge thing we run into.
Yeah, and that's the same thing as taking out credit or a credit card, because then you're saying that what you're paying for today is more important than the money that you're going to earn in the future.
I love this. It's the whole philosophy of budgeting and cash flow.
Yeah, it's a science.
No, it feels like philosophy, actually.
Yeah.
And like a way of looking at it. So, what should be in your budget? You've mentioned sales and expenses and frequency, but I feel like there is a lot more than that. Is there a cheat sheet somewhere where you're going, I probably need to put in that thing and need to account for this thing? Is there somewhere that you can find that, or is there some broad guidelines, broad headings that you can give us?
Well, one of the things I would suggest is a lot of the times you may have already started your business. So have a look at what you've spent your money on in the last month, and that will give you an idea of where your money is going. Then you categorize, you use broad categories, but not too broad. So you look at things like if you've done any, for example, ads online, so that would be your advertising, if you've paid for any parking to go to events. So that's what your typical month would look like. And then start to look at other events and other expenses that you might incur over the course of the year, and start to build upon that. So one of the suggestions that I generally give is to have 12 columns. And then you list the different types of expenses that you're going to have and when you expect to be incurring those expenses. And then that way you can also work with the timing of when those you'll be making those payments.
So would like a bank statement be a good start, you would say, like maybe the last 3 months?
Definitely.
And then like coding it, and I think, yeah, maybe simplifying it, and if it's personal, just put a P on there, and that's it, because then it becomes heavy maybe in the initial stages, because overwhelm is common.
Yeah, exactly. Like where do you start? You were talking, Kat, to me before about using a card and using a designated card, key card, credit card, whatever it is for all your business expenses. Then you can keep it all in one place and go through and then code it. These 12 columns. Tell me about the 12 columns, like 12 steps to budgeting.
Yes, actually that will be. Each column is probably a topic in itself, isn't it?
So what are some of these columns, these famous 12 columns?
So the columns will represent a month, so the 12 months in the year. And then you'll have a list of all the different sorts of expenses that you would have. So, you know, from your advertising to insurance to parking, motor vehicle expenses, your mobile phone. I think those are, particularly your mobile phone and motor vehicle expenses, are expenses that small businesses tend to forget because you generally own your vehicle and mobile phone before you start. But don't forget that you can claim the business use, the percentage. So with your mobile phone and with your vehicle, you'd need to keep a logbook or speak to your tax accountant on how they'd be able to then calculate that percentage, the business use percentage for you, so you don't miss out on deductions.
That's it. Don't miss out on deductions.
No.
You want to budget it all in there. Yeah, we forget about cars and mobile phones. There's so many things that we forget about in budget, but I guess it's a work in progress, yeah?
Yes,
definitely.
It's dynamic, I would say. Most people do it at the end of the year or at the end of financial year. I do mine every 3 months.
Wow.
Because things change.
You just update it. Do you keep the old one and then like have a new one to see where you're traveling and actual and
Look, there's no like right or wrong. You just have to start somewhere. My bank statements are usually my starting point, and then because everything's in Xero or MyOb, I can go through my profit and loss, and sometimes I go, gosh, I'm paying so much. These days, software subscriptions is a big cost for businesses because software is now monthly, and people, it runs away from them because, you know, some of them say pay to play. So then you're paying, but you're not watching how many months you've subscribed, and it might be just $25 for one, but imagine having 10 of those.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think that that's a good thing about having a budget is you start to look at the different subscriptions that you have and what you're using. Do you really need it, or can you just get away with a free version? And that was the same thing with the bank account. There are free bank accounts available for small businesses. I hear a lot of the times people will say, well, I can't afford $10 a month, which is a reality when you're starting your business. So look for the free options, and then as your business starts to grow, then you can start to look at what you can afford based on your needs.
I think we'll link to the recording a few sample budgets and also the pricing calculator, I would say.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
link to that so people listening in can actually access those simple tools.
That will be on our Facebook page. We'll give you. We'll put a copy of this interview and some of these great tools that we're talking about, and some of these top tips we'll bullet point them. Going through the last 1 to 3 months of your bank account is a really great way to start, and the 12 months so you can start seeing the schedule and the patterns of payments. Really useful. Can I give you my top tip that I learned this week?
Oh yes. Let's hear that nugget.
I cancelled my credit card just because I couldn't find it, so I cancelled it. Oh, no, I got it back again. But it was very interesting because all of the regular payments that I make, they go, well, there seems to be a problem with your card. So, you kind of lose track of what you're spending money on.
Yes.
So then they said, is there a problem? And they said, I don't want to subscribe to that.
Yeah.
That's a good one, actually.
Exactly.
If you cut the tap.
Yeah, exactly. Going, okay, yeah, probably don't need that. No, yeah, cut that. So, yeah, very handy, actually. That was
Awesome.
my top tip.
Awesome.
Yeah, probably not the budgeting for beginners that we're expecting, but all good.
More to come.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us, Grace.
Thank you.
And it's Financially Empowered Women. You've got a Facebook page as well, don't you?
Yes, and also a Facebook page called Financially Empowered.
That's it.
Which is the business name.
So if you're a man, you can't join the women's group. Great
No,
conversations.
but you can join
in
the public page.
or
There's
get
a
your
lot of
wife to
tools.
join.
Yeah. It's great. And I love the way that these small businesses support each other. It's fantastic because we all want you to succeed because, a thriving economy is good for all of us.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
definitely.
It is. Yeah, look at that. Yeah.
And numbers aren't scary. You're in charge of them, so they rely on you to tell them what to do. So you can do it.
I love that. Numbers aren't scary. Thanks so much, Grace and Kat. Taking care of business on RTR FM 92.1.
Awesome.